Hi, I'm Luke. Today on Out of Darts, you've probably heard of it, you've seen it all over YouTube, I finally got my hands on it, let's get right to it. This is the Adventure Force Nexus Pro. If you're finding my channel for the first time, welcome. There's a huge hobby of Nerf modders, and I'm hoping that this brought you here. This blaster is the biggest monumental change that we've seen in the entire time that I've been in the hobby. I joined the hobby about 6 years ago, and this has blown me away. The Nexus Pro is an evolution powered by Dart Zone from one of their previous blasters, which was the Mark I and the Mark 1.1. This one was available for $180. And even at that price, I thought it was a tremendous value because it is a hard-hitting, powerful, right out of the box, ready-to-go blaster. The Nexus Pro sits on Walmart shelves or online with free shipping for $50. I don't think that can be understated how amazing this is. At a $50 price point, this puts you directly in the core of the hobby in the super stock category, shooting up to 150 FPS, taking both short darts and long darts with the included magwell adapter, Talon magazine compatibility, and a lot of other great features. When I first heard about this blaster, I thought it was absolutely impossible that they released a blaster of this quality at the price point they did, and I am thrilled to say that this thing is the real deal, and it's probably going to be the most popular blaster in our hobby of any brand this year. I am super excited to get modding this blaster. This video is going to be a little different today. I think if you want in-depth reviews and people talking about the blaster as far as features, there are a lot of people that have beat me to that. Coop had a phenomenal video doing a dart comparison and all the compatibility, and I think that's a really worthwhile. And Drac had a great video, Naptown Nerf had a great video, and there's also Bert. But what I wanted to talk about is where this is taking our hobby and how we should handle that. And my general thoughts on the blaster, of course. This is a hard-hitting blaster. This is not a toy. We should make this really clear to newcomers that this is not plink around, shoot your friend without eye protection. This is a serious hobby-grade blaster. And at $50, I am blown away by what comes with it. First of all, most of my complaints about the Dart Zone Pro, which were really minor to be honest, are gone. I never really liked this collapsing body with the pins. The pins tend to rattle around, and they really weren't preferred. Now, I do love the styling on this blaster, and you do get some nice features, rubberized grip, rubberized stock, textured foregrip, but the Nexus Pro gives us almost, I'd say 80% of the features minus a few ergonomic things, but overall it is still a really comfortable, really phenomenal blaster. Ergonomically, the blaster is as good as you can possibly want out of a $50 blaster. The quality of components and the molding and the shell thickness are all on par with their previous offerings in the Pro line and on par with Rival. This thing feels rock solid. It's one giant injection mold, so it feels very solid front to back. I really want to take a moment to thank Dart Zone, the Adventure Force line, and Walmart, whoever was responsible for these decisions. Making this compatible with the magazines, of which there are thousands, if not tens of thousands out there already, is just fabulous. The last thing we need is another magazine type for us all to battle over and figure out who's going to use what, where you have some blasters that use one type and some that use another. I think this is just awesome and such a great decision. The blaster's got a pretty basic stock, but it is a buffer tube stock, so if you've got others lying around, it is directly compatible. And so that's my favorite one, nice airsoft stock. I mean, that right off the bat is just awesome. The blaster has the easiest change spring that I've ever seen. One of great little feature, it's a single screw here, a quarter twist, and you've got your spring out, which it's just an awesome feature. They listened to the community, they listened to their market, and they built an amazing blaster. I have very little to complain about. In my testing, virtually all dart types have worked just fine, with the exception of things like AccuFakes, AccuStrike, waffles, men guns. Anything with a wide tip is not going to go through this barrel. But at the $50 price point, you're still getting an aluminum barrel, which I know how much stock aluminum costs. That's probably the most expensive part in the whole blaster, outside of maybe the shell, once you factor in tooling costs. But at their volume, probably not. The blaster also has another fabulous feature that a few people have talked about. It has a prime lock, so those that are not familiar with the blasters will not have to think about double priming a blaster. And to be honest, when you've got something like the Jet Sita, you can double prime, triple prime, and cause a jam here. And in the heat of actually playing in a game, it's kind of a little frustrating, to be honest. So it's a very welcome feature for me anyway. It's also a feature you can disable if you really didn't want it. Our hobby has changed so much over the last 6 years with the introduction of Rival to blasters like the Sita S, and now GameFace brands, Havoc Prime, their version of the Sita, along with all the 3D printed blasters, and this is the next step. And to echo what a lot of others have said, this is not only just a great value for the existing hobby, this is going to bring a flood of new people to our hobby. And that is really exciting because I think it's such a fun hobby. I think this is a wonderful platform to get started. I wish this was around when I got started because, boy, does that beat my first Alpha Trooper with an Orange ModWorks kit or what? I think the styling on this blaster is really beautiful. It's a really nice looking blaster. It's got a kind of funky dual rail thing here. I've already seen that others have designed rails here, and I'm definitely going to do a flat rail to make this all the same height. I think Galaxy Black would look super nice there. Prusa filament to just line up here and play accents off the other dark gray, or I guess I'd call that a dark gray, so I think Galaxy Black will be real nice there. These sights, as goofy as they look, actually in my testing work really well. It's sort of like a grenade launcher style sight, but because darts fall so much, you actually could train yourself to use these notches in a pretty successful manner, and I actually think in a lot of ways this might be better for some users than other types of stock, because if you get a feel for what notch you're looking at what given range, and you get better at feeling what range you're at when you're in an engagement, I think you're going to get a really great result out of it. That said, they pop right off. Super easy to design some new ones, and we are definitely working on that. I am planning a whole slew of mods for this blaster. I only got my hands on one this week, so I was very late to the game, but we are definitely going to offer a lot for this blaster. We are already in process on springs, both a lower power spring and a higher power spring, because since this shoots 150, I think there's also the need to drop it down to 130 for HVZ and down to 100 if you just want to play with kids or maybe around your house. So we'll probably ultimately offer 3 different springs for this blaster, a rail, some sights, and then of course we've got an interchangeable barrel, muzzle tip here rather, so it'd be really easy to put a scar in there. So definitely going to be working on that as well. And I've already started modeling a slightly different grip, so there's going to be a ton made from this blaster, both from myself and from other shops and all over Thingiverse. And I think that's really fantastic. With all of these newcomers coming into the hobby, I just wanted to remind everybody, help them out. Educate them, welcome them to the hobby. There's going to be a lot of questions online and questions in general that are really obvious and are people trying to learn information. Some of them may not be willing to Google for 30 seconds. So do be patient, answer them, help them out, and I think we will grow this hobby even further, and I couldn't be more excited. This blaster is obviously a tremendous value. It also performs very well. In my testing, I got high 140s up to 155 on a high end, averaging just under 150 with short darts. Short darts is really where it's at. If you're new to the hobby, you'll learn that really quickly. They're both more accurate and they fly a little farther, so they are definitely my preference. The other huge advantage is that when you've got the actual magazine itself, the magazines are physically much smaller, so you can carry nearly twice as many in the same amount of space on your body. And for me, this is huge because I like to run light and lean and move quickly and not be weighed down by too much tactical gear. The Nexus Pro is in so many ways a confirmation of how big our hobby is growing. And it's going to be exciting when you start talking to strangers about Nerf modding and they've heard about it. And I know we're all still calling it Nerf modding, but really we need to rename that. We do need to find a better name because Hasbro doesn't care about us. The Elite 2.0, I have a video coming up on that as well as soon as a few other blasters get here. But it's been incredibly disappointing. Tons of blasters where they've cut the screws out and it's solvent welded together or glued together in different various manners and inaccessible for modding without a tremendous amount of work or fixing or breaking the blaster. Meanwhile, third-party companies at major big box stores like Walmart are giving us what we want. And this is an opportunity not only to get a killer blaster for 50 bucks, which just, every time I hear that, I'm just like, how? But it's an opportunity to vote with your dollars, support the companies who make this stuff, and listen to us instead of just pumping out the same reshells over and over and over and making them less moddable than ever. I think Dart Zone with this Adventure Force line for Walmart has just knocked it out of the park. Next, I wanted to really quickly talk about the darts. The darts that came with the Dart Zone Pro Mark 1 and Mark 1.1, we as a community dubbed bamboo darts. And I don't know who came up with that, but it was very appropriate. They have little ridges, kind of like bamboo. And these darts have gone back to straight foam, but with a very, very similar head. And the most important part here is that the glue is fabulous. These are extremely durable. I've shot them over and over at the concrete at 1 foot away, literally straight into the ground, and the dart is still fine. So these are some of the best darts I think you can possibly get, and they obviously work flawlessly in the blaster. These are also on shelves very soon at Walmart, if they're not already, for $10 for 100, so 10 cents a dart. While that's a little more expensive than some of the other budget offerings, they are very good quality. So I am super impressed with those as well. All in all, this is just such a big shift in our hobby. And it's what I've been waiting for and watching. As much as I would like to have been the company that released stuff like this, I don't have a manufacturing experience to do this kind of project, and certainly not the contacts to get in a big box store like Walmart. This will spread our hobby all over the place, and I couldn't be more excited to see what they bring out next, because we know this isn't it. They've already said they're doing more blasters. As an initial offering, this is just incredible. No company has done this well with their first mass market product as far as quality, value to the consumer, and everything. It's really fabulous. And now this is starting to make a lot more sense. The Pro is now very much starting to feel like them testing the waters, listening for feedback, watching our reviews, I think, and making something even better for mass market. That's not to say this is worse than this. They are different. There are some features, both sides, that are better and worse depending on your personal preference. Overall, it's a win-win. A 5 out of 5, and I can't wait to do more modding with this. I will have more videos coming up on this blaster specifically because it's too cool not to do some more stuff. Before I go, on an unrelated note, this year's been kind of crazy. The business has been more of a challenge than it ever has, and I wanted to thank you all for your support. If you're still watching this video right now, you are one of those 4,000 or 5,000 subscribers that actually watches my videos and watches them all the way through. So thank you. Thank you seriously, because I love making videos. I'm doubling down on the YouTube content this year. You've probably noticed the last 4 or 5 videos have a lot more B-roll, a little bit more behind the scenes, and I really want to push that. I'm getting an editor, and we're going to get the video put up to the next level. On that note, in relation to quarantine, I have spent more time in the last 5 months designing than I probably have the previous year and a half, maybe 2 years. There are some really big projects coming. They should be obvious what they are, and I'm really excited to share them with you. We're waiting for one component, and then I should be able to ship as many proton packs as you want to order. Adapters for about 10 different blasters and some other surprises too. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think of this blaster in the comments. I'd love to hear what other mods you'd like for it, and I'm listening because this is next. Until next time, I'm out of darts.